Hello everyone, the Klaus here, and today guys I'm gonna review a Bionicle combiner model, so from 2003, and a Rahkshi one. So you may remember that I have in fact already reviewed four combiners models, so yeah, four because two of them were of course the official character released by Lego, and two others were the one were some unofficial combiner released by Kabaya, so Japanese company, which released some combiners, for example some for the Chuaga or for the Borgva, and they released two of them for the Rahkshi. And today I'm going to review in fact the fifth Rahkshi combiners, which also come from Japan. It originally came in the Japanese Lego Club magazine, and then was featured in the 14th Bionicle comic, so which I think is called Atlas Takanuva. And between some pages, it was between some ad pages, it was the picture of this combiner was featured, in fact. And so yeah, I'm gonna review it today. For this combiner can be made with three Rahkshis this time, so the blue, red, and the black one. So I think they're called Turak, Vorak, and Gurak. So excuse me, I don't really remember the name of the Rahkshi, but that's not really important. So we're gonna begin with the construction right now. So first of all, we're gonna take a long axle, which of course came from the spear, then a body part. On this, we're gonna link this shoulder section. As you can see, there is already some connector linked with an axle at this point, but here there is just a connector. So this means we're gonna link this part like that. Then we're gonna do the same thing for the other side, but in blue, because yeah, the color scheme on this model is dark gray, black, black on the middle, and also blue on the left side and red on the right side. Oh yeah, excuse me, totally. I made some little mistake, excuse me. Like that, so excuse me. Now we're gonna add some parts like this one, so a connector plus a leg section on this point. Then we're gonna do the same but with the other leg section. Of course, they are not supposed to be the legs, they are just used as some design element, kind of like a mecha skirt. What we call the skirt, in fact, is this type of, sometimes on some mecha or robot designs, there is, excuse me, some like problem. So yeah, around the legs there is some metallic parts which look like a skirt, so that's why we call
that skirt, and this seems to be one of them. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, but of course with some blue connector this time, apart from the black, which of course don't change colors. And here is the body section, well, not really finished because there is still the head, but we are not going to link the head right now. I'm going to link the legs. So the legs, oh yeah, excuse me, I don't really show them, but they are the same as Rahkshi set, so nothing really new. As you can see, it's exactly the same, and this time of course it's black because it's on the middle section. Yeah, I think that's all. So now for the arms. Excuse me. So yeah, the arms. So I'm gonna explain how it works right now. So first of all, we're gonna have some shoulder pad made out of Rahkshi's, excuse me, back spine, as you can see. So it's a complete element, nothing will change apart from this axle hole right there, because in fact we're gonna link two axle hole of 2, because of course there is not we're gonna have to link in fact 2 connectors, but the problem is that there is no axle of 4 in the Rahkshi set. So some smart technique is to use 2, of course, axle of 2s. So this means we're gonna use this part first. So connector plus a Rahkshi leg, kind of like this part here. And then the arm itself, which is made with a connector, a Rahkshi arm, which can be also called a slicer or robot arm, some part of legs, and then to make the hands, kind of like one of the Kabaya combiner, we're gonna use a leg. So quite useful. And for the weapon, we're gonna use the flame staff and the earth one right there. So nothing really interesting. Gonna link the second connector right here.
then the ball joint to this connector I've shown you, excuse me, at the beginning of this review. Excuse me, I'm trying to pause him. And then the second arm, which is exactly the same, apart from the fact that, of course, it's used blue parts and blue specific the specific parts from the blue Rahkshi. Yeah, like that. And we are near completion, in fact, here, because we're just gonna have to link the head. So you have to remember that the instructions were not included. In fact, so this model was just featured, but there was just one picture, and they told you the model you were supposed to have to build this guy. But apart from that, no clear instructions. So all this part can be made with just looking at the pictures because yes, it's not that complicated. But for the head section, it's quite complicated. So I had to go on Bookshelf, and some member called Tour of Italy made some pictures of this set. Well, in fact, he's the only guy to have made pictures of this combiner, even if there are some webcam pictures and they are kind of blowy, but still, thanks to this guy, I could make the back parts and link the head. So we're gonna use, first of all, this back part, so nothing really interesting, connector, and then here what's interesting is axle, this axle right there, and also notice that there is one free pinhole on the back part, so we're gonna put this axle right there, and then the head itself, which is made with a connector plus slicer arm, nothing really interesting, the head itself. We're gonna link this connector, of course, through this, well, we're gonna link this connector to this axle. Now I'm gonna put the head like that. Oh, excuse me. And we're gonna put this part like this. And the model is done. So I'm gonna do a little tournament of this guy, and of course after that we're gonna talk about the articulations of this model, and finally I'm gonna do it, of course, a little sum up to tell you if this guy is worth it or not. So the articulations, first of all, the legs. The legs are okay. I mean, of course, you got the 3 points of articulation from the original Rahkshi set. The only point is that this ball joint right there is really limited in terms of range movement, if I can say so, because as you can see, you can't really, when you try, for example, to make some crouch pose like this one, the model is going to fall back, in fact, like that, and of course, it will not look cool at all, so yeah, you can't really pose this ball joint, but this one, of course, are excellent, you can do stuff like that, but, well, it's pretty useless because this one is quite limited, so of course, if you can't turn this one, you can't really use these 2 ball joints at their full capacity. You got, of course, 1 ball joint per this part, so you can turn this, they can follow the movement of the leg, for example, so the leg, excuse me, so pretty cool. And then we got the arms. Oh yeah, the arms. So yeah, first of all, the shoulder part, so there is a ball joint right there. So this means you can turn this part kind of like that, so it's pretty complete, I think. You can do some pose with just the shoulder pad. And then for the arm itself, you got like 3 ball joints, but they are, you know, it's kind of some weird ball joint connection. So in fact, it's up to you to search for some pose because you can't really, it's quite awkward to make at some points. But apart from that, you can, it's pretty free, if I can say so. It's got a pretty wide range of movement, and 1 ball joint on this part also. And now for the head, you got 1 ball joint here, but it's not supposed to move, so not really useful, and 2 ball joint for the head itself, which allow you to make it look on the side and stuff like that. But it's really supposed to stay, I think, like that in a. Really, the head is really is literally in the body, in fact, and it's really cool. So it's giving him, yes, a mysterious, of course, design aspect. So yeah, I'm gonna link this part, and now we're gonna do the sum up. So I'm not gonna really try to make a pose. I'm gonna really do a simple pose like this one, because it looks pretty classy in this pose, and it's not really hard to make because, yes, as I've said, the legs are quite hard to manipulate. So there we go. So yeah, the sum up. So first of all, the color scheme is great, I think, because it's really simple, and also it's pretty original because they really divided the model into two sections. One, the left one is blue and the right one is red, and in the middle of that we got some black color. Of course, overall we got tons of dark gray colors. But this idea of dividing, yes, the two colors really on the two sides is really good, because I think that's the only time I saw this technique in a combiner model, in fact. But of course, they are from this is from Japan, so of course they have a different idea about design and stuff like that, and that's what makes this three combiners model, so the Tsukabaya and this one, really original and pretty unique. Then you got the part selection, which I think is pretty great also, because it uses most of the generic parts from the Rahkshi sets, so like the arms, the legs, and stuff like that. But also the more specific parts, like all the back parts, which are in fact pretty hard to use. You could imagine that they are just useful as back parts, but no, here they are used as shoulder pad. The same goes for the shoulder parts, which are used as body frame. So yes, it's seriously, there is a good part selection, and the parts are really used in some interesting ways. Then you got the articulation. I think it's the only real bad points of this set is that the arms and the heads and the parts like that are okay in terms of articulation. They are pretty well articulated, even if it's quite awkward to move and to try some pose. But the legs are just quite bad, I have to admit. Just this budget, in fact, is problematic. So yeah, the articulations could have been better. They are still okay, but yeah, could have been better. Then you got the construction, which I think is pretty original, because like I said in my in the part selection section, well, all the parts, the construction is original because it used most of the parts, but in a different ways than the one we know from building the Rahkshi sets, of course, which were all cloned. And this time, well, they use, as I said, this part as a body and stuff like that. So yes, obviously, again, a good construction. And finally, the design, well, I think the model speaks for itself. It's pretty epic, it's pretty classy, as you can see. It's really, well, it really seems to be strong and badass and stuff like that. Really, seriously, you don't, you don't really try to annoy this guy, I think, because, yes, you will regret it. So seriously, no, the design itself is really classy with the big shoulder pads, the two shouldering parts, the ends made with this legs part, the skirt part, the back spine right there, the two spears. So all these elements, seriously, it's pretty well done. Plus also the fact that it really seems it's got some kind of, if you look on the side, it's really the shape of a human body with which goes like that and then in this way. So yes, it's the design is excellent. Seriously, of course, it's only a subjective point of view, because maybe this Japanese style will not please everyone. I can understand that, but by itself, I think objectively it's not ugly. In an objective way, you can say it's an ugly model because it's pretty well made and it's really look cool. And that's all, guys. So my final thoughts about this model is it's a great combiner model, again from Japan, pretty unique, good color scheme, good construction, and good design. So all those parts are pretty excellent. The only problem which makes him not a perfect combiner model is the fact that the articulations is not really sometimes it's quite bad, as I said, for the legs, and you can't really pose him the way you want, and that's really a problem because this model is really supposed, I think, to be posed because he's really classy and cool and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a shame that the only problem is the articulations. But well, it's Lego, so you can still try to revamp this model, or even just not really revamp this model, but at least use some building techniques or use some design structures like the shoulder pads and stuff like that, because they really look pretty good. So my final thoughts about this model, feel free to build it, feel free to take some into the ideas from this model, because well, it is really worth it. It's really a good combiner model except for the articulation. So that will be all, guys. Hope you enjoy this review. Hope you enjoy this combiner model because it's quite cool. And if you have any questions or comments about this combiner model, feel free, of course, to post them in the comment section. And that will be all. So see you later for another video review. Bye bye.